PEC Education is one of the leading PTE Test training providers in Dhaka, Bangladesh. PEC Education started its journey in 2016 with providing one-stop PTE academic supports and services. There are several PTE courses that PEC offers both online and on campus to its students. All of the PTE courses includes PTE study materials and free PTE mock tests. Please call for detailed information PTE course preparation and services to 01713167969 or visit the website www.pecpte.com.
It's common sense that some objects are harder than others. We refer to this characteristic as hardness, but what exactly is hardness? Let me tell you, it's the ability of a material to resist being damaged, scratched, or marred in any way. There's even a way to measure it. It's the Most scale of hardness. A German scientist, a meteorologist named Frederick Most, came up with the scale in 1812. Here's how we made it. Most took 10 different minerals, then he rated them from 1 to 10 based on their ability to withstand damage and to damage other materials. Tel received a rating of 1. It's soft, it's easily scratched, can hardly damage anything. Diamond received a rating of 10. It's the hardest natural substance known to man. The other objects on this scale, that number from 2 to 9, are gypsum, calcite, fluoride, apatite, feldspar, quartz, topaz, and corundum. I see worried looks on your faces. Don't worry about writing them down there. Listed on page 234 of your text. Take a look. Now, what about the hardness of other objects? It depends on which of the 10 minerals can scratch them. For instance, your fingernails get a rating of 2.5 on the Most scale. So gypsum can't scratch them, but calcite can. Well, what are some others? Let's see. Iron is rated between 4 and 5, glasses between 6 and 7, and steel is close to 8.
Did any of you notice those strange greenish-colored lights in the sky last night? Anybody? Mark: I did, sir. They were beautiful. But what were they? We call them the northern lights. But they're also called auroras. There are two types of auroras, those in the northern hemisphere and those in the southern hemisphere. In the north, we call them the aurora borealis. In the south, they're the aurora australis. Auroras appear as colorful streams of light in the sky in high, northern and southern latitudes. They frequently occur during the months before or after the equinox. The equinox happens in March and September. That's when the planet is tilted, so that it's neither pointed away from nor toward the sun. So, why do auroras occur? They are the result of reaction in the upper atmosphere. Solar winds hit the Earth's magnetic field. This may excite the oxygen and nitrogen atoms in the atmosphere. After some time, the atoms become relaxed. As they relax, the electrons in these atoms give off energy. This energy appears in the form of light. The color of the light depends on whether it comes from oxygen or nitrogen. In addition, the height in the atmosphere helps determine the colors that the light forms also. Just so you know, oxygen usually emits a green or brownish red light. Nitrogen typically gives off a red or blue light. Most auroras are green in color.
For years, TV advertisements and print advertisements dominated the advertising industry. Yes, TV commercials and newspaper and magazine ads were expensive, but for most advertisers, the money they spent was worth it. People were watching television and reading newspapers and magazines, but times are changing. Television is still the biggest segment for advertisers, but that won't last for much longer. Instead, the internet will overtake both TV and print marketing very soon. There are several reasons for this. First is the internet growing popularity. Today, the number of people who surf the internet is enormous. In the 1980s, few people owned personal computers. Nowadays, most households have at least 1%, and more people are using the World Wide Web. Every year, people are also getting their news from the internet. That's making print newspapers and magazines less popular. People are even watching TV programs on the internet. So as you can see, there's a growing audience available to internet advertisers. Another important reason is cost. Making and airing. A television commercial can cost a huge amount of money. For local TV, it might be thousands of dollars, but for national TV, it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. In some cases, advertisers spend millions of dollars to run 30-second commercials and highly rated TV shows or sports broadcasts, but it's much less expensive to advertise on the Internet. Internet advertisements are typically cheap to make many times, they merely provide a link to a company's website. And they don't cost that much either. Some Internet advertisements cost a few $100s or even less to place on another website. The most expensive ads rarely require more than several $1,000s. Finally, companies can advertise to specific groups on the Internet. All sorts of people watch TV or read newspapers and magazines. So an advertisement for baby products might not appeal to most of the audience or readers. However, a company advertising baby products on the Internet can buy ad space on websites that parents with babies often visit. This lets the advertisers get more value from its money.
The Mayans were a group of people who lived in Central America. They developed an advanced civilization. It lasted for many centuries. Its high point was between the years 200 and 900. The Mayans are famous for a number of things. They built many city-states. These were like small countries. Naturally, the center of each was a city farm, surrounded these cities and supported them with food. Mayan cities also contained exceptional works of architecture. The ruins of some buildings can be seen today. There are both large palaces and stepped pyramids. The Mayans had a writing system and literature, but they didn't use paper. Odd no. Instead they wrote on stone, wood and tree bark. Lots of writing was done on the insides and outsides of their temples and palaces. They also formed books from tree bark. But sadly, few of these books have survived to the present day. What happened to them? Well, first, the heat and wet weather of the jungle destroyed many, but Spanish conquerors got most of them. They actively sought to destroy the Mayans' written records. Fortunately, other objects, including Mayan works of art, have survived. We can see some of this art on the stones of their temples and palaces. The Mayans were excellent pottery makers as well. They created figures of stone, clay, and wood, and they even made some objects out of metal. But there are few extant examples of any metal devices.
You've all seen, I regret sinned. Hieroglyphics was used by the ancient Egyptians to write with. It's based on pictograms. However, for centuries, no one knew how to read it. Then in 1799, some French soldiers and Napoleon discovered there was a stone in Egypt. It was part of a wall in an old fort in the town of Rosetta. It was originally located in an ancient temple, but it was later moved to the fort. The Rosetta Stone had some writing on it. The writing was in 3 languages. One was ancient Greek, one was Demotic. That's an ancient Egyptian language, and the other was hieroglyphics. All 3 languages contain the same information. It was a decree issued by some priest in 196 BC. It was about the new pharaoh of Egypt, but telling me the priest declared that Ptolemy had been chosen to rule, and they said that they would put on me with a feast. Each year, the text on the Rosetta Stone became the key to understanding ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Scholars started to compare the 3 writings. They understood the ancient Greek very well. The second writing, Demonic, was less well known, but some scholars came to understand it. Eventually, after much work, scholars started to decipher what the picture symbols and hieroglyphics meant. 2 men were involved in most of the important translation work. The first was Thomas Young, an Englishman. In 1814, he made the first major discovery. He realized that the 3 texts contained the same information. He found about 80 words in the demonic and hieroglyphic text that were similar to words in ancient Greek. For example, the neighbor Ptolemy was Greek. It appears several times. In all 3 texts, Young was able to figure out which symbols and demonic and hieroglyphics represented the name for Ptolemy. The other scholar was a French man. His name was John for a small shampoo Young. In 1822, he produced an alphabet for hieroglyphics based on the Rosetta Stone inscriptions. Later, he made a grammar and a dictionary for hieroglyphics. What?